Hello fellow Gothamites! Welcome back to my How to Play the Batman miniature game 3rd edition series. In the last part we created a Batman crew of 173 reputation points, went through the 7 setup phases of the game and prepared everything to finally roll some dice and beat up some bad guys with the Dark Knight. Now I will introduce to you the 4 phases of the game. Since each game will consist of 4 game rounds, every round is broken down into 4 phases that both players will go through in the following order. Take the lead, where the players determine the order in which they will proceed during the rest of the round. Raise the plan, where players decide which models will have the most impact during the round. Execute the plan, where each player alternate activating their models and resolve actions with them. Recount, where models recover from injuries and knockdowns. When all players have completed the sequence, a new round will start with the same sequence of the 4 phases until the game ends after the 4th round. Back at the gaming table, we will continue our example fight between the Batman and the Joker crew. We already deployed our crews and chose the scenario of the game. Before we start with phase 1 in round 1, however, we have to deploy our 2 undercover models, the Joker and Buffon. Undercover is called a trait. Almost all characters in the game have several traits. You can find all traits of a character at the bottom segment of a character card. You can find a complete description what a specific trait does in the game's compendium at the Knight Models website. For example, the undercover rule says this model may be deployed up to 8 inches away from its deployment area. So my opponent does that now and deploys both models behind our unsuspecting ARKHAM guards within our territory. Since the deployment is not more than 8 inches away from the Joker's deployment, this is a legal deployment. Now we can start round 1 of the game. Our round sequence always starts with phase 1, take the lead. In this phase, the players roll off with a single d6 to determine initiative. The player who rolls highest chooses which player gets the initiative for this round. If the roll is a tie, the player who lost the initiative roll in the previous round gets to choose. For the first round, just continue rolling until a player wins the roll-off. So let's roll our initiative roll-off now. Okay, we won the roll-off and I will choose us as the player with the initiative for the first round. Initiative means that we can activate one of our models first in the execute the plan phase before our opponent can act. With this phase done, it is now time to raise the plan. In this phase, players assign 4 audacity markers to their characters. You can only assign 1 audacity marker to a character, and you will always be getting 4 markers at the beginning of the raise the plan phase, no matter how many models you have in your crew. Also, you can't assign audacity markers to KO'd models. I'll explain what KO means later. Audacity markers on a character let them do more actions than normally allowed. Without an audacity marker, a character can only perform 1 of the 3 actions available: movement, tactical, and special. With an audacity marker assigned, a character can perform every available action once. The actions are executed in the execute the plan phase, but let's now assign our audacity markers. Since we only have 3 models in our crew, this is easy, so every character will become 1 audacity marker. The 4th marker cannot be spent and will get lost for this round. Our opponent, however, has a trick in her sleeve. Not only does she has models with the undercover rule to mess with our deployment, the Joker has the Chaos Agent trait, which gives every henchman in his crew the trait Trickster, which means that the Joker player does not have to assign Audacity markers in the Raise the Plan phase to the Joker or his henchmen, but instead can assign unspent Audacity markers in the Execute the Plan phase when he activates them. So you will never know which actions a henchman or the Joker himself can do this round until it is too late. Damn. Since our opponent is merciful, for now, she puts an Audacity marker on the Joker, but the rest will stay next to her character cards when she needs them. We now finished the Raise the Plan phase and will go now to the Execute the Plan phase. Now, starting with the player with initiative, each player activates one model. But before this can happen, players should count the number of their non-KO'd characters that are on the board. The crew with fewer models gets an amount of pass markers equal to the difference of the number. So while the Joker crew has 5 models and the Batman crew has only 3 models, we get 2 pass markers, which we can use to skip our activation and let our opponent act first. Here you can see our pass markers, and since I want to know what the evil plan of my opponent is, I will spend 1 marker to skip my first activation. Sometimes it's a good choice to let your opponent go first, sometimes it isn't. This tactical decision is up to you. But let's remove one of our pass markers now. Okay, so the next activation goes to the Joker player. She has no pass markers and she's forced to act now and must activate a model. Since we learned what actions are available to us, movement, tactical and special, let's try out movement. The Joker player wants to activate her henchman Tyrone Johnson and move him toward the enemy to smash some heads against walls. But how far can he move? Let's take a look at his character card. You can find the movement skill here. This number is the maximum distance in inches this character can move with a movement action. When moving a character, you just measure the distance with your tape measure and move the miniature up to the maximum distance you want to. Always measure from the edge of the base. You can move to any direction you want, the facing of the miniature does not matter. Take obstacles and scenery into account when moving over it. For example, Tyrone wants to move behind the police car and use it as cover. The distance around the obstacles is almost 8 inches, so he could move there without a problem. During and after moving, there must always be enough space for the base to stand on, otherwise movement is not allowed. If you would want to move over the obstacle in front of him, you have to measure how high it is. If the obstacle 1 inch or lower, he can ignore it while moving. Is the obstacle over 1 inch, he has to climb over it. When a model wants to climb, it will suffer the impaired movement effect. This effect means the model reduces its maximum movement distance by 4 for this activation. So if Tyrone wanted to climb over the obstacle, his movement distance of 8 would be reduced to 4. This would bring him still behind the police car, so he chooses to do so. Also, climbing works in all directions, so you could climb down if you want to. There are also other movement options like falling, jumping and difficult ground, but I will show them to you later. Okay, since my opponent didn't spend an Audacity token for Tyrone, the activation ends now after the movement action. Now it's our turn again. Do you remember what the special rule of our scenario card said in the first part? During the first round, models cannot inflict damage. Let's ignore this for our learning game, because I want to show you the tactical action, which most of the time causes damage. Our ARKHAM guard has an assault rifle, and he wants to use it now. When you want to shoot or fight in melee, you can use the tactical action to do that. When a model uses a tactical action, it has to decide whether it will do an attack or a manipulate action. Both count as a tactical action, but you have to choose between the two. Since our ARKHAM guard wants to shoot, he chooses the attack tactical action. There are two types of attack actions, melee attack and ranged attack. A model can only use one of the two if it could use both. Since we want to use the ranged attack option, there are some requirements we have to fulfill to make a ranged attack. First, the target must be within line of sight. To check if we have a line of sight, just draw a straight imaginary line between the two models, the attacker and the target. It's easier when you take your eyes to the level of the attacking model and see through their eyes. If you can see the head, torso or legs of your target, you have a line of sight. Ignore intervening models. Also, every model can draw a 360-degree line of sight. Facing doesn't matter. Additionally, every miniature cannot see more than 12 inches in any direction because of the night rule. If a target is in a clear line of sight but more than 12 inches away, you can't see it. Now, light sources come into play. If a miniature is in the radius of a light source, like a street lamp, which is 4 inches, every other miniature that can draw a straight line of sight to that illuminated miniature can see it. Some other special rules like night goggles, etc. also ignore the night rule. Second requirement, the attacker must have a ranged weapon with at least one ammo remaining. To check this, let's take a look at the character card of our ARKHAM guard. Here you can see the weapon profiles of a character's weapons. The first value is the amount of damage it can do with a single hit. The second value is the rate of fire value, or RF. This is the number of shots the weapon does with a single ranged attack. If a weapon does not have a RF, it is a melee weapon and can't be used for a ranged attack. The next value is the number of ammo the weapon has for the game. Every ranged attack reduces that amount by 1. If you have 0 ammo, you can't shoot. Makes sense. The last value are the traits a weapon has, like firearm. Like with the character traits, you can find the descriptions of your weapon traits in the Night Model's Compendium. Since we did not shoot yet, we have still our maximum ammo of 2. So the second requirement is also fulfilled. The last requirement is the attacking model must not be in contact with an enemy that is not KO. Since this is also not the case, all requirements for our ranged attack are fulfilled. So let's shoot that guy from the fire escape platform. First, we declare a ranged attack with our ARKHAM guard with assault rifle. We use the assigned audacity marker to maybe do something more after we shoot. We check the range and line of sight to our target. The distance is roughly about 12 inches, so the night rule don't affect us. And even if it would affect us, the street lamp down on the ground floor illuminates everything in a 4-inch radius, measured from the base of the street lamp anyway. So now we take a number of dice equal to our rate of fire. Additionally, to every attack, ranged or melee, we add a single die with a different color. This die is called the strength die. The strength die can trigger critical effects on our target, and rolling more dice means doing more damage. So never forget the strength die. Now we have to roll to hit. The number you have to reach to score a hit depends on the target's defense skill. The higher the skill of your target, the more difficult it is to hit. So let's take a look at the character card of our target. You can find the defense skill of a character here. This number is the minimum target number you have to roll to score a hit. So every 3 or higher will score us a hit. The strength die, however, never takes the target defense into account. The strength die uses the strength value of the attacker, or in case of a ranged attack, the strength of the weapon. Our assault rifle has the firearm special rule. This means that the strength die always hits on a 2+ and ignores the wielder's strength. So to sum it up, our normal dice score on a 3+ and the strength die on a 2+. There are some ranged attack modifiers, however, when it comes to shooting. For example, when the attacker has moved before a ranged attack in the same activation, he loses 2 attack dice. When the attacking weapon has a limited range, like pistols for example, and the target is out of this maximum range, the attacker loses a die. When the target is partially obscured by scenery, it is in cover, the attacker loses a die. When the target can't be seen because of the night rule, the attacker loses 2 dice. Also, some special rules like dodging allow the target to force the attacker to also lose dice. For example, our target is behind those steel bars from the fire escape. This means it is in cover and we lose a die. When doing a ranged attack and any modifiers causes us to lose dice, we must always remove the strength die first. So in the end, we will try to hit our target with 3 dice that need a 3 or more to hit. Let's roll them now. Okay, let's hope for a good roll. We need 3s or more. Yes! All my dice show a 3 or higher, which means I scored 3 hits on my target. Now let's apply damage. On our character card, we see that the assault rifle does 3 damage with every successful hit. Since we scored 3 hits, that's 9 damage in total. In the Batman miniature game, there are 2 kinds of damage: blood and stun damage. Those little blood drops mean that this weapon causes blood damage. If those symbols were little star symbols, it would cause stun damage. Every character in the game has an endurance value, which is the number of blood damage it can suffer before it is made a casualty. The willpower value, however, is the number of stun damage it can suffer before it is KO'd. Casualty means the model is removed from the game entirely. KO'd means it is removed temporarily from the game but can recover in the recount phase eventually. Since our target has only an endurance of 5, it is made a casualty. We obliterated the Joker henchman and killed him outright. A good start. Okay folks, that will end this part of our How to Play the Batman Miniatures game 3rd edition. We learned the phases of the game and how to use Audacity markers. We learned actions like movement and the attack tactical action. And we also took out our first enemy. In the next part, we will take a look at the other actions like tactical, manipulate and special. And next time, we will see the Dark Knight himself entering the fight. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a like. That would help me a lot to see if I'm doing things right and keeps me motivated. Also, subscribe to my channel if not done already. And we will see each other again when there is yet another shadow over Gotham.